taxability is handled a member for free additional area, existing member, the free additional area which is allotted by the society under self-development. Whether demolition of the existing flat along with the building can be considered to be a transfer of flat by the member or not. Taxability of transit rent or transit rent compensation, better to call it as a compensation, hardship compensation in the hands of the member. Thank you. What will be, suppose member will get some extra area without paying any consideration, whether the construction cost which society will incur on that particular area which is going free of charge to the member, whether that will be taxed in the hands of the member under any kind of the income. Then after completion of this entire redevelopment process, self-development process, society will left with some surplus fund. What will happen to that surplus fund? Suppose because of course existing member would like to have benefit of the entire benefit of that surplus fund. So whether is there any way by which society can distribute the surplus fund, if it is whether it can be distributed by a dividend or not? Silpa ma'am has covered some part of it. And last, there are no issues. Of course, under the self-development, when member will get hardship compensation or transit rate, there won't be any TDS liability, TDS deducted by the society. But in case of a redevelopment, where the society gives redevelopment to the outside developers nowadays are deducting validly tax under 194 ICAI. And if a member wants to claim that as a hardship, as a capital receipt and not liable for tax, how it can declare in return of income as well as in claim credit for TDS. We'll try to discuss on that also. Now, introduction to self-redevelopment. In recent years, after many of the builders have defaulted, because nowadays, in last 4-5 years, builders have taken lots of redevelopment projects in their hand beyond their capacity. They enter into redevelopment agreement and then the default, they don't pay compensation or even transit rent even after demolition. So nowadays, again, people have started thinking that let us look or let us explore the self-development. And maybe it may be the government recently, I think, our Chief Minister had a meeting at Kantilal where he had again promised that they will be encouraging or redevelopment by the society themselves only. But the main problem is a free parallel economy and compliance. Government. So that also under table whatever you have to give is very difficult. So to gain the faith of the member is very difficult. So let's proceed. Mainly societies are of 3 types. One, tenant co-partnership housing society, which is popularly known as a flat owners society, where builder or developer take a development rights from the landlord along with some power pattern, general power pattern, that they will convey ultimately the land and building to the society, which will be done by flat owners. Builder sells the flat, then flat owner, once the building is completed, all flats are sold, members come together with the help or without the help of the builder, they form a society. So that is called a tenant co-partnership. Other form of partnership societies like where members come together first, they form a society, they purchase a plot, and then all members contribute towards construction cost and they construct a building. Second species of a society is a tenant ownership housing society, which is popularly known as a plot owners housing society, where a big plot is being allotted. First, members come together, they form a society, they take allotment of the flat plot, then they subdivide the plot, and again they re-allot the flat plots to each member, and they keeping common facility, common road, common street, lights and sewerage and everything with the society, and each member then construct on his respective plot. But nowadays, I think hardly very few societies of this nature are left in the Mumbai. So we will not discuss that particular. It will have little different tax implication. So we will not discuss that and other housing societies. So today, in whatever time we have got, we will be concentrating on a tenant co-partnership housing society, which will cover almost 90% of the cases. So why self-development? Because it is seen so. It benefits tenant co-partnership housing society. Society with a building of 18 years or more get 45% additional fungible FSI free of charge without any premium if they go for self-development. And if it is less than 18 years old, then they get 35%. What are the legal frames which they have to play around with the Maharashtra's state cooperative, Maharashtra Cooperative Housing Societies Act, then Development Control Regulation, MARERA, because even when a society goes for self-development, it has to register under MARERA because some portion of the flats they will have to allot to the outsiders and their interest has to be protected. So, in nutshell, under a society owns the property, that is land and common area of the building, whereas members are having only a occupancy right in the flats which is being allotted or which they have purchased from the builder. Even if you refer to agreement which is entered into at the time of purchasing the flat, that is under the MOFA, you will find that clause. I will come to that little later on, not legible, but I have given some particular paragraph which will show what is the rights and duties of the builder as well as what are the entitlements of the flat holder under the MOFA. Because whatever the redevelopment nowadays is going on, all those agreements were executed in MOFA under RERA. RERA has come in 2017, so still it will take much more time for redevelopment, those who have executed agreement under RERA. And of course, under RERA also, model agreement is more or less same as a MOFA. There was a government resolution dated 13 September 2019 where they have prescribed the procedures to be followed when we go for a redevelopment. Now, what is the typical procedure society has to follow when it goes for a self-development? First and foremost, in principle, society has to decide by passing a resolution in a general body meeting that they would like to go for a redevelopment and self-development. They will not be appointing any third person. Then they will go for a feasibility report. They will appoint some project consultants, project management consultants, plus architects and engineers. Then they will also appoint financial consultant because society will need money initially because it cannot sell immediately or maybe not easily sellable immediately. So Bombay District Cooperative Bank earlier used to give up to 50 crore rupees some loan, but I understand they are showing concern because what kind of security society now? Existing members are not ready to give their own flats as security. Now ultimately it is going to be demolished. Future saleable area, bank is not interested much in that for the time being. And plus, there is always a fear from the bank side or financial institution side. If something happens, this committee is changing every 5 years. And if something happens, whom they will call? That's one of the bottleneck why this self-redevelopment is not taking its pace. I think government will have to do something to encourage this self-redevelopment. Assuming everything is done and approval is being obtained, then construction work goes on, and during the course of construction, members are asked to reallocate themselves. Of course, in resolution, they must mention that you will get some extra area, you will get some hardship compensation, you will get some transit rate compensation and everything. And ultimately, allotment, when the construction is done, completed, existing members will be given again an allotment letter stating that now you will be getting this new flat number blah 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 with so many square feet as a map under this certificate, and you will be having a commercial right instructor there. Even for members to whom the flat is said to be sold, of course it cannot be considered sold, it is considered as allotted only. There will not be any separate agreement which will be executed between the society and a member or incoming member or proposed member. There will be a letter of allotment which will be issued to them also, containing more or less all the terms and conditions as per the model agreement, and that will be stamped. But it will not be bilateral agreement. So, who is legally entitled to use this extra FSI? See, extra FSI is a right which is linked with the land ownership. Land owner holds the development rights, including additional FSI as well as TER rights. In a cooperative housing society, once the conveyance is completed, whether be it conveyance by the builder himself or be it under a deemed conveyance, society has put an exclusive right to redevelop the property, to utilize additional FSI, to allot larger flats as decided by general committee, and to sell the surplus area after allotting the existing members their existing area plus additional area, and they may earn some surplus profit. Supreme Court, Bombay High Court, tribunals have time and again has held that FSI right is linked to the land ownership, and it always rests with the cooperative housing society once conveyance is completed. What are the key arguments which supposedly whatever I said? First and foremost, society is an incorporated legal entity. Conveyance is done in the society's name. Title, revenue records, whenever society is there. Even the plans which goes for redevelopment, approval for redevelopment, plans are passed in the name of the society. Even the TPR and everything is also uploaded in the name of the society. Further, when the society is formed, even bylaw also says that one of the main object of the formation of society is to obtain a conveyance, which they have done. So, we can safely say that society and only the society is a legal owner of the land and building only, not I am talking about each individual flat. So now this is what I was talking about, this model flat agreement closed under the MOFA. I will not read the entire, only the relevant part is underlined. Residual FSI in the plot or the layout not consumed will be available to the promoter is developer till the registration of the society. Whereas after the registration of the society, the residual FSI shall be available to the society. This is a mention in the MOFA agreement. Again, flat purchaser shall have no claim save and accept in respect of the flat hereby agreed to be sold to him. And all open spaces, parking spaces, lobbies, staircase, terraces, recreation spaces, etc. will remain the property of the promoter until the land and building is transferred to the society. So naturally it means after society is being conveyed with this open space, it will become owner of the society. So society will become owner of the particular open spaces. And FSI is generated out of the land, not out of the open spaces. We have got very old judgment of a Supreme Court in the case of Ramesh Himatraj Shah versus Hasmukh Jadavji Joshi. The Supreme Court has held that cooperative housing society members have only occupancy right. Land and FSI belongs to the society. One more Bombay High Court judgment. Of course, here the facts were little different. That builder did not executed the permanence within the time limit as Silpa Madam said within 4 months from the formation of the society. So builder said still, since the permanence is not executed, I am entitled to use it extra FSI. High Court held that awarding builder extra FSI would reward non-compliance, which is impermissible in the law. So then also society is still the owner. Society can go for, of course still it has got its conveyance or conveyance, it cannot use it. But that doesn't mean that builder can use it. One more case, Mavi Terrace Cooperative Housing Society versus Sri Govindram Tiprewala. Again Bombay High Court reaffirmed that once conveyance is executed and society becomes landowner, any additional FSI including PDR belongs to the society. So even under the Income Tax Act, some judgments, very old judgments are there, where of course these judgments are under the redevelopment, where the society has gone for redevelopment and society has given development rights to the builder. So that time it was held that there is a transfer of development right by the society to the builder. There also High Court as well as Tribunal has held the society is a owner of that FSI rights or development rights which has been given to the builder, and that is kind of transfer. But the capital gain was not levied at that time because it was that mechanism, calculation mechanism under section 48 phase, because you can't determine the cost of acquisition of FSI. Society has never paid any cost and it has been generated because of DC change in DC regulations. This Bombay High Court in the case of Sambhaji also related the same thing. So we are not on a capital gain whether levied or not, because now the scenario has changed. Now with the amendment in section 55 that I come to little later, this argument cannot be taken up that capital gain cannot be taxable or cannot be levied, cannot be calculated, because now the cost will be due to me. Now let's come to the member side. If you look at the pre-incorporation history of the formation of society, what has the society has done? Society has not paid single money penny either to get this conveyance of land or building, and society has become owner, legal owner. Now, can we say that society is legal owner but economic owners are the flat owners? Even CBDT Circular 9 of 2069, 28 March 2069, of course initially it was under section 24, and then in that 190 it said that legal ownership of a flat rests with the individual member and not the society. But here also they have mentioned about the flat owner and not the land. And section 54 also gives only exemption when you sell your shares in a society along with your existing rights of occupancy, and when you acquire shares, they consider as a you have acquired new residential property, because if you see the definition of section transfer under section 247, subclause 6. So everywhere they have to consider assessee as a genuine owner of the flat. If you have been really an owner, while Income Tax Act would have to introduce this genuine section stating that you, being an assessee, are a deep owner of this flat, even for the purpose of taxing under the income from house property or even for the purpose of taxing under the capital gain. So this is one more point where you cannot say that members have got some undivided rights in which FSI generated, so members might have paid not separately, but when they paid, they must have paid along with total consideration corresponding part of the land. But still, member can never say that I have got some individual or undivided rights in FSI. So whenever any extra FSI is generated, kindly divide the same one way. Kindly divide the FSI so that we will do whatever we can do. First and foremost, FSI cannot be transferred to any other plot. It is only TDI. So whatever extra FSI is paid by law of these regulations, you have to move on the same plot. So even in self-development, common question is whether existing cooperative members have undivided or individual rights over the additional FSI granted through regulatory changes. In my opinion, no. Now, let's take some conceptual or legal explanation also for that. The FSI is over attached, I think I've already mentioned all these things. So let us not waste our time in this again. Further, while deciding what members can have a right, Bombay High Court has stated that members can have only right of participation in society's decision. Member cannot claim any proprietary share in the extra FSI. These are the two judgments of Bombay High Court, where it was held that though the case primarily in this Gilnar traders, it was related to TDI. But Bombay High Court affirmed that development rights vest with the landowner, that is a cooperative society, once the conveyance is executed. Similarly, in this JS and MF builder case also, society is a legal owner of the land and building, whereas the member are the economic owners of their individual flats only. This distinction confirms that FSI rights with the. So I think with this discussion we can safely conclude that society is the only owner and legal owner and sole owner of the land, as well as whatever extra FSI generated out of it. If somebody has got any other opinion, I would love to hear from that. So, as a member, what are the rights you have got? Right to vote, right to represent, allotment of larger flats, and if there is any decision which is going to be taken against you, you can take objection. Now, let's come to the main task, our tax implication for the society upon allotment of new flats to the old member, that is the existing member. In self-development, the cooperative housing society simply consumes its own FSI. It never transfers any FSI to anybody else. Whatever FSI existing as well as additional FSI it has got, it will consume, it will utilize and convert into new building. As there is no external transfer of rights, transaction may not amount to a transfer. If you see the definition of transfer, transfer says sale, exchange, relinquishment, extinguishment of rights in the property. So it may not fall in any of these clauses of the transfer. And newly constructed area is distributed to the existing members as well as new admitted members. Ultimately, who will be introduced or admitted as a member of the society and then become part of the society itself. So we can take argument that the portion allotted to the existing member to the extent of free FSI, that as initially I said, 35% or 45% as the case may be, may fall under the principles of mutuality, which holds that one cannot earn from oneself. Society has not received any consideration for this. Cost of construction of such extra area as well as new area equivalent to existing area is also has been made out of the sale proceeds from the allotment to the new members. I could lay my hand on 2-3 judgments, very old judgments, because self-development has not taken place in so many years and now it has gone to such a high level. I'll just give you a brief about these 2-3 case laws. This Parleswar Program Housing Society, it was a big society having, each member was having balconies. In those years, people used to have big balconies. And slowly people have covered those balconies, enclosed those balconies. And meantime, after some time, the DMC came up with that this enclosed balcony is not allowed. You require to have FSI for that, otherwise you will be deemed to be considered as a defaulter and you have to pay penalty. Meantime, some DC regulation has come up and society was fortunate enough to get some extra FSI. Then society decided to let us do one thing. Let us use this extra FSI to regularize these balconies, because many of them have converted those balconies into kitchen, bedrooms and everything. And thereafter also, society was left with 4 flats, area equivalent to 4 flats which they could build and sell. Where society has told, what society that time has done, society first admitted 4% as a member. Immediately on the same day of admission, they allotted the flats to them to fall within the bracket of mutuality, because that time the mutuality was something like that. You should be the member when you contribute. So they say, let's first make them member, then allot them and make them member. So whatever amount they are paying towards their flats will be considered as a contribution to the society, and so it will fall under the concept of mutuality. Society got the money, but unfortunately there was still loss because they have to pay little penalty for regularization. So even after considering the whatever receipts they got by the share proceeds, still there was a loss. But then Bombay High Court gave favorable decision is because the day only the person contributing was already member. So whatever amount he is received, he is going to be beneficial of that. What concept of mutuality says, participants and beneficiaries should be one and the same. Contributors and beneficiaries should be one and the same. Though not necessarily they should make equal contribution. Whatever contribution in proportion they have made, they should enjoy the benefit of the same proportion. When it comes into the common pool, there may not be a same class, same type of a member, the same concept of mutuality can be applied. Now this Parleswar Co-operative Society again, this Bombay High Court department went into Supreme Court also, and there were so many other cases which were lying before the Supreme Court having different issues. In those days, transfer fee was a big issue. Normally, society collects transfer fee from the incoming member. The incoming person or transferee who is going to become a member. So when he makes a payment as a transfer fee, that time he is not a member. Thereafter he is being made a member. So department argued the same thing. It cannot be considered as a contribution from the member, because when he made the payment, he was not a member. Similarly, some non-occupancy charges, some transfer premiums All these type of cases were clubbed together and decided by Supreme Court in this Venkatesh Premises Cooperative Housing Society. If you see this particular judgment, there are more than 50 to 60 cases have been clubbed together. And Supreme Court has given in principle approval whether contribution is coming from existing member or a person who is going to be member. Ultimately, he is becoming member. So still the principle of mutuality will prevail and society cannot be taxed in respect of contribution made by such person. These two other judgments also of Bombay High Court, same cooperative housing society and others cooperative society has little different facts. There it was a sort of a plot owners society where plot owners were charged some premium when they transfer the plots to someone else. And it goes, that premium used to go to the kitty of the common kitty of the society. There also it was argued it is taxable in the hands of the society, but then Gujarat High Court says no, it is not taxable in the hands of the society. So whether this concept of mutuality we can hold even for salary redevelopment where there is a commercial profit is also involved. The concept of mutuality will be good so far as there is a transaction between two members or two persons for mutual benefit, but without having any profit motive. Whereas here, when the society goes for self-development and if it has got some profit motive or existing member says that we should make some money earn out of it and then distribute, then in my opinion the concept of mutuality may not hold the water 100%. So how the surplus should be taxed? One, as we discussed, if principle of mutuality is applied and accepted, then there won't be any tax in the hands of the society. We are right now on the society, taxability of the society in the course of self-development activity. This we have already discussed, both the cases. Now, assuming the concept of mutuality is not applicable, whatever is surplus, whether it is taxable as a capital gain or as a business income. Because FSI right as such is a capital asset. That we already see that in that Sailaja society as well as that Sambhaji and the Bombay High Court have decided whatever development rights or FSI rights which is generated out of the existing unit is always a capital asset in the hands of the society. So whenever, and assuming there is a transfer by a extinguishment of rights in a property. See, if you read the definition of transfer, suppose 2 says extinguishment of rights in the property. It doesn't say extinguishment of the property. So, what is property here? Is it this FSI right? By utilizing that FSI right, society can be considered to have extinguished its right for the future use on the same FSI, because once they consume that FSI, they allot the flats to the member, existing members as well as new member. In future, whenever again they go for redevelopment, to the extent of whatever FSI they have already utilized, they will never be able to use it. So it can fall under the second clause as extinguishment of rights in the property. And that way it may be considered that society has, by way of extinguishment of rights, have transferred its existing or plus whatever additional FSI right, not existing but additional FSI rights, it will be transferred. Now, whether can it be considered as a or it has got some element of business also. Because there are both the arguments in favor and against which can be developed. If I want to monetize, there is theory of monetization of my asset. If I got, assuming I have got a plot of land with one small bungalow over there, 1+1 building, ground floor, first floor. We have 4 brothers staying together. Now we got some extra FSI because of change in TC regulation. And now we can build up to 8 floors. So we have decided to let us monetize our asset. So for monetizing our assets, we have to construct up to 8 floors, but for construction we don't have the money. So we have decided upper 4 floors, last 4 to 8 floors we will sell. First to 4 floors we will keep with ourselves as a 4 brother and we stay together in the same building. So that's called monetizing of the asset. So I will say whatever amount I will receive from the sale of the 4th to 8th floor, that has got again 2 elements, one towards land, one towards the constructed area, because that 4th to 8th floor has come within period of 2 years only and then I have sold it. So can I say that some portion is towards my land, some portion is towards my constructed area 4th to 8th floor, short term, long term, that also will come later. But first of all, let us decide whether it can be considered as a capital gain or not. For doing self-development, we need to go through many activities. We need to do many organized activities. And it has been held that single adventure in the nature of trade is also a business. So, little bit difficult for society also to argue that it is completely a capital gain. Assuming that we are succeeded in developing our argument that it is a capital gain, how to calculate capital gain? Cost of acquisition is a nil because as per that section 55(2) amendment, now any rights in any property, if you are not paying anything, then and if you cannot determine what is its cost, then it will become nil with effect on this 23. So the cost of acquisition of my FSI will be the nil. Now to consume the entire, assuming that I am getting, I have again one now 3 FSI. Out of 3, 35% or 48% I got free fungible FSI. But for balance FSI I have to pay some premiums so that I can claim as a deduction water premium I pay, and the balance I can claim as a capital gain. Whether water construction cost I will incur for a building, architect fees, PMC fees and everything, I can claim it as a cost of improvement. Because if I would not have got ultimate sale price of say 25,000-30,000 rupees per square feet, if I would not have incurred or I would not have made this my capital asset improvised to this extent. It's a good argument, we can take it, and by claiming those construction costs also as a cost of improvement, balance I can claim as a capital gain. But now one more question, whether I can claim the entire cost as a deduction or only cost with respect to the area which I have sold to the new area. For that I have just taken one simple example. The total area constructed is 40,000 rupees, including new, old, everything. Area sold to the outside clients, new member, incoming member is 15,000. Area given to the existing members 25,000 square feet. Assuming old was 15,000 and 10,000 extra has been given to them. Total construction costs, including my premium and everything, is 10 crore rupees. and my total sale proceeds from the incoming members is 15 crore rupees. Plus other expenses, I have incurred 25 lakh rupees. Hardship compensation I have paid to the existing member because I have convinced them to move them out of the existing flats. Then only I can do a redevelopment of the building. And transit rent, 25 lakh rupees. So, if I claim the entire construction cost, what are the arguments I can develop for that? What is taxable is a real income. That is normally called a real income theory. Entire cost was required to be incurred necessarily because if I would not have removed these existing members outside, I would not have demolished, if I would not have accommodated them with the area, existing area as well as whatever fungible extra they are entered to become equivalent to their area, I would not have been able to develop the entire building and would not have been able to sell this area. And I would not have been able to earn this capital area. And on that now, I can say that my entire cost should be deductible. Other line of argument is that which is more conservative, that only direct expense is related to income generating activity. So wherever I am generating income is whatever area I have sold or rather allocated to the new member. Corresponding cost of that area plus premium I have paid for using the FSI for that area, plus of course whatever other expenditures incurred proportionately I should claim and capitalize the balance amount towards my existing building. So this is how calculation will come look like if I go in both method. One method is where the entire cost is claimed. So I will be left with capital gain of 4 crore rupees. Whereas if I go on a proportionate basis, of course I have not made it more complicated this table because again I bifurcate premium paid for existing members, free area, and then it would have gone on a long calculation. But in principle we have to decide that when I go for proportionate cost, whatever costs are incurred for corresponding area which is I am allocating or allotting to a new member, only that much I will be claiming and balance I will be claiming as a capital gain and will pay tax. And now I think it is 12.5% and by this. As I was discussing that whether I can bifurcate that long-term, short-term, whatever area I have constructed and sold or allocated to someone else, there are two elements. One, I use the FSI with a premium, so indirectly it is considered to be a land cost. My FSI cost is nil, whatever premium I paid for that. As against that, suppose when I sold that or allocated to them, say assuming 25,000 rupees per square feet, out of that 25,000, my consideration toward land is 15,000 and my consideration towards constructed area is say 10,000 and my actual construction cost is say 5,000. Then I can say that that 5,000 which I have earned is my short-term capital gain because that building is constructed and sold within 2 years. Land and building are both separate. There are two different assets and some support we can take from 1 or 2 judgments where a capital assets comprising land and newly constructed building is sold for consolidated consideration. It is permissible to bifurcate capital gain into long-term capital gain attributable to the land or FSI and short-term capital gain attributable to the building. This view was held upheld in CIT versus Vimal Of course, this was not a society case. It was an individual case. Just as I narrated story of two brothers came and then they constructed. That time they have claimed this story and they could succeed also. Same way, recognizing land and building as separate capital assets in the absence of specified breakup in the CLA, allocation of sale consideration may be reasonably be done based on stamp duty valuation, or you can obtain a valuer's report also. In that, it was also held that total compensation will pay to the existing tenants or occupants. In that case, of course, the builder or developer or person, they were having some more tenants and the tenants were asked to vacate and they paid something to tenant. So that cost also they claimed as deduction. So here, in our case, tenants are members. Members have been asked to go away for temporarily. They have been paid hardship, they have been paid transit rate. So can we claim by taking support of this judgment? It's a good argument which we can develop. This is a judgment of Mrs. Firoza Patel. It is also Bombay High Court. See, these are the arguments I am developing. It is not yet tested 100% before any legal forum. But these are my thoughts which I am putting it before you. If anybody has got any other suggestion, please, I will welcome.
The argument is that it is a capital asset will be not be eligible because revenue will say that it is your cost.
Sorry?
You have acted as a cooperative developer.
Yeah.
Now it is not a capital asset, it is a business.
Yeah, chances are there because there are so many activities you are carrying on which are normally a businessman will carry on to do a redevelopment. And plus you will be taking finances. You will be arranging finance from outside. Yes. So that will also go against you and you may go under the business income network. I also agree with you.
Yes, so when the point is that you have decided a cutoff rate or whatever the rate of redevelopment of FSI is there, on that date you have converted your FSI into stock. So that is your stock or land cost, and your construction cost. That is the total cost, and the rest is your sale component. Cost minus sales is your GP. That part is that, and balance is all steps to be had.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I have taken that in my next slides also. Yeah.
The department always takes the view, in case of self-redevelopment, that one of the promoters of the project of self-redevelopment is the society itself.
Yeah.
So in light of that, I think what our friend here said, it's not a case of capital, but it's business. Even one transaction is business, what we said earlier.
So society is indirectly stepping into the shoes of the...
Not indirectly. In the development agreement itself.
Yeah, as per RERA, as far as sale part is concerned, it is a promoter.
That's right. That's right.
If we refer to these two judgments of Mumbai Tribunal, which was ultimately upheld in Mumbai High Court also in the case of Nirmal Commercial, where of course their capital gain was allowed, but considering only deduction for proportionate cost, not the full cost.
Again here the cost contribution by member is definite. In the original allotment there was no contribution fixed. The society can collect total cost. At the end it will be finalized. See, originally when there is a plot owner society and members are constructing, the cost limit is not there. Now you are issuing allotment letter with definite cost. That also indicates that your intention is commercial and you are liable for the whatever profit on commercial.
I agree with you, that I completely agree with you, but these are the different arguments which can be developed. And in this Nirmal Commercial Property Housing Society, Mumbai High Court has given the benefit of capital gain, but subject to deduction to the proportionate cost.
Always Supreme Court change the decision. We know that. Later on interpretation can be changed.
That's why Einstein has always said that tax laws is more difficult than even law of gravity.
See, the better safety is that the society should pay the tax after deducting proportionate cost of the sales area. Newly allotted area proportionate cost deduct and pay the tax. That is the safe side.
Yeah, that is the best and safe side. But sometimes what happens, some projects are not viable. So that people will be, and after all,
Nobody likes to pay.
Law does not consider feasibility. Law will consider your pay.
so as I said in the beginning, in society content, that it does not transfer any FSI to any person, but as utilized or consumed.
Right.
And so there is no transfer or any FSI, but I myself has said by way of extinguishment of rights in the FSI, may be considered.
Extinguishment will cover when you issue an allotment letter,
Correct.
register, when you say you are a promoter, in all families.
But now in redevelopment, 2-3 another concepts have been developed by and where the tribunal has accepted, where members have stated that in case, of course, it was in a redevelopment, whatever amount they have received by way of cash compensation, say hardship and transit rate, department tried to tax it, and the assessing voluntarily went. They said, sir, no. If at all it is taxable, it should not be taxable, but it can be reduced from my cost of the flat. Which department, the tribunal has accepted in these 4 cases. So can we apply that annually when society says that no, whatever amount I have received from the incoming member should be reduced from my cost. These are the 4 judgments. Of course, it was in the case of redevelopment and more particularly with respect to the compensation which is received in cash. So that also needs to be tested once again. But I'm doubtful. We cannot take benefit of this time that my cost should be reduced.
Hardship compensation given due to capital receipt. It's a casual capital receipt, therefore it is exempted. Not for all the.
Yeah, there are plethora of judgments. Tribunal judgment which says hardship compensation is a capital receipt. It is not an income. That I fully agree. But I'll give one more argument also against that. I'll come to that.
Sharad, instead of 2 rooms, I'm getting 3 rooms, I'm not paying anything extra.
So,
Instead of 2 rooms, I'm getting 3 rooms, okay? I'm getting extra spaces, but no cost is incurred. Now rent, whatever rent bill is paying to me, how am I to reduce it from cost? See, I do one bed house, now bill is offering me 2 bed house, right? I'm not paying anything extra. Now rental, whatever you say, you can reduce from cost. Which cost?
that is not clarity. There is no clarity in judgment. Cost in the sense there might be the member or assessee might not have offered that yes, considered to be a transfer of old flat into new flat. So he is not offered any capital gain. Old flat cost has remained same in these books. So assuming old flat was purchased at 20 lakh rupees. Correct? In the course of redevelopment, even though he has received new flat, he has not offered anything.
Exactly.
He said, nothing will, I am not done, neither I have paid anything, nor I have received anything. So there is no transfer, so no capital gain. And whatever cash compensation I have received, I will be reducing it from my existing cost of 15 lakh rupees. As soon as I sell this new flat, I will take that cost as 15 lakh, less compensation, whatever is it, and whatever sale cost is there, I will be offering that as an income. This may be the argument. So, this particular question was simply assuming that I say I have not transferred anything, but I have received some extra area. For me, I have not paid anything. And society has spent something towards cost of construction, though they have not paid anything towards the premium on that fund, because it's free premium, free for any premium received by the society. Here, someone say that that particular cost which has been incurred by the society is indirectly, which I would have incurred if I would have constructed that area. So now somebody else is paying on my behalf. Can it be considered as a income? I doubt it can be, but you never know what kind of department there was the argument.
See, here we should treat exchange of the unit from 101 to 501 or 60. It is an exchange and return also the value of that as a capital gain and take the exemption.
Sir, wherever associate himself has offered, that is considered to be exchange of old flat in your new flat.
Because I will extinguish my old flat, right? I am shifting to some other flat. When unit number is changed, automatically it is an exchange, technical. And you are getting the new additional area, additional, so you have to offer. In commercial, what I recommend, only to show in block of asset the construction cost, which is finalized by the department.
Sir, unfortunately, wherever the assessment is offered this kind of capital gain, stating that I have exchanged my old flat in your new flat, and what is the consideration is the market value of new flat is my consideration, old flat cost reduction, whatever capital gain is there, that again I will deem to have invested in a new flat, so I should get 54, and another plus whenever I sell new flat, I will get this new jacked up cost as a.
You will get the indexation cost benefit.
But department has never
cost can be changed.
See, now my question is, department has never objected to it. For what reason, I don't know. But I will say, what is exchange?
The commercial value is for the guideline.
First of all, exchange has not been defined under the Income Tax Act, correct? It has been defined under the section 118 of the TOPA, transfer property, where that I also taken that point. I will come to within few minutes.
Sir, how do I recruit? This can be a matter of this can be done as a transfer from for an old flat and additional FSI. You are getting a new flat, so there is a barter. Whatever he is saying is right. That is the.
Sir, let's see. I'll come to that. Let's see that what is the definition of exchange.
See, there is a tri-party agreement. Tri-party agreement automatically it's a document, unit, everything is specified. All unit you are specifying in second sheet.
Let him finish his presentation. We can do it later. Please let him finish his presentation.
Okay. So now, same thing, if we to go for a business model, then again, without claiming that FSI as a conversion of capital asset into stock in trade, assuming we don't take that ground, then calculation will remain more or the same, less same. On both the theory, where full reduction is claimed, where proportional reduction is claimed. So the amount will remain the same. Only it will be offered under the head income from business and liable at maximum rate. Now, can hardship compensation and transit rent compensation paid to member be deducted while computing capital gain or business income? As I think that we already discussed, it is a necessary cost which society need to incur to redevelop, and so it should be fully allowed. And I'm also of the opinion that yes, we should claim it fully as far as the society is concerned. But nowadays, I have come across one society where it has got such a huge plot with a small building, and builder has offered them more than 75% extra area. 7,000 rupees per square feet as a hardship compensation. Of course, it's a redevelopment, so that reasonable less reduction will not come into picture. But assuming it is a self-development, and society gives additional 70% a year. Society gives 7,000 rupees by a hardship allowance. Section 48 will be whether it come into picture or not, if you take it as a business income. Is it a reasonable? Because if you refer to the definition of relative under section 48 will be where society is normal, society is assessed as AOP. Any transaction between AOP and its member, if it is not at arm's length or at a reasonable price, it will attract this around 148 rupees. So that also need to take care of when society goes for self-development. These are the issues which you need to consider while any structuring a self-development transaction. Same again, I would say that we want to go backward where proportionate deduction was upheld. Now, if society uses additional FSI to carry on business, does it mean that its capital assets being additional FSI is converted into stock in trade? I think yes, we can take that stand that on the day on which society has decided to go for self-development, it has converted its existing FSI into stock in trade. Calculate, you can arrive at its market value of FSI, calculate that market value itself will become almost capital gain less whatever premium society has to pay to utilize that additional FSI. You can claim as a deduction. I agree, you will say it should be deducted as a business expenditure, but I am doubtful because that you will be able to save more than 18% further, but doubtful because unless and until whatever value you will put to FSI, market value, that market value you will arrive only when you pay premium and make it that as a usable FSI. So that it will be difficult to argue. So that can be claimed as a capital gain, and whatever market value or fair market value you have adopted at the time of conversion, then you can take it as a stock in trade, and then rest of the expenditure and everything you can claim under the business so far as it is reasonable. Subject to, of course, hardship compensation and transit rent, whether fully allowable or not, that still will remain in a report. In a self-development model, member receive new flats from the society, however, what the member receives upgraded occupancy right. Now there is one more argument we can develop, and more the legal ownership of the land or building. The members remains within the framework of the society itself. Member has neither transferred its shares nor done any arrangement whereby he has given up his rights of occupancy. So he is not even considered to extinguish his rights of occupancy. So 247(6) wherever either by becoming a member or by exiting as a member or by any other arrangement, if you allow enjoyment of your flat to other person, then it will be deemed to be a transfer. Now, can you tell me, under this redevelopment, have you transferred your shares to anyone? No. Have you given possession of your flat to someone else for enjoyment? No. Then how can you call it as a transfer of your existing flat? Now, as far as the exchange part is concerned, and now what is exchange? Section 118 of the Co-operative exchange is not defined anywhere under the Income Tax Act. When two person, so in exchange there has to be two person. We are on self-development. Which means you are exchanging your flat. Society.
Then there are no two persons.
No two person. When two person mutually transfers ownership of one thing for ownership of another thing, neither thing being money only, the transaction is called an exchange. So what does it mean? There has to be two person, there has to be two property simultaneously in existence if you want to fall within the definition of exchange. So can you take, when you go for redevelopment or self-development, even for redevelopment at retail, can you say that I have exchanged my old flat into a new flat?
Yes, you have to take new development for the new unit. When you have to mention, the old unit was there, I am now getting the new unit. You have to mention, right, to acquire. The fresh allotment will be there. And you have to get it registered for your title. You have to register.
Yeah.
You say registered.
Under principle A.
You have to mention the old place as well as new place.
So for redevelopment of the society with the help of the builder, we will hold water to some extent. But as far as self-development is concerned,
Even in self-development, the allotment later you have to register for the new unit. You have to mention.
for the new unit, correct. But for existing unit,
No, old unit also you have to mention that you are old member and you are getting. Otherwise, same unit people will have created. You have to mention.
Sir, this is-
society being one person and the member being the other person. So that way cannot be.
The two person, the contract.
you are giving a possession to the society only for the demolition purpose, that's all. For immediate.
Allotment of new unit.
You have never relinquished your right in the property, you have never extinguished your rights.
Sir, can I speak, sir,
I
please?
have right only on the occupant.
Extinguishment of the property itself. I am not extinguishing right. If I have extinguished,
You have extinguished rights, old rights or new rights.
See, there is a judiciary judgment is there, High Court, for the tenancy right. If you have a ground floor tenancy and they are giving you third floor, then it says that you have a floating right of address. Your floating right is there, but still unit is changed.
But it all depends, as Tarun Bhai always says on this point. Tarun Bhai's lectures I have attended on this point. Tarun Bhai here always says one thing. Everything depends on how you word your
That's right.
agreement. You can take care of all these nuances in your agreement.
so while drafting the agreements and while waiting out the agreements, we need to advise clients
It's
properly.
exactly what a priest speaker just said. Shilpa Ben just said the same thing. We are now only focusing on tax or traditional
But
agreement.
normally clients comes to us after executing everything.
Yeah, exactly. But then, sir,
Yes, sir, now these are helpful, what to do?
you are right, Shilpa, you are absolutely correct. But as Shilpa Ben just said in the previous session, see, we are now focusing.
See, we are writing one word in lieu of all flag. When you use the word in lieu, it is exchange.
That is normally coming under P triple A.
Ah,
Correct. There is normally in P-triple-A it's coming, but in self-development P-triple-A is not there, no sir.
Right. Correct. You are right.
So these are the issues which, see, I could think of it, which may,
You will get a new allotment letter in lieu of old flats.
Shilpa just said one thing in the previous session. I think we should not focus on these things. Sir, excuse me, please let me speak, sir. In the previous session, our speaker just said one thing. As chartered accountants, we are used to just seeing only two angles, tax and audit.
we need to go a little fast because some other part is pending.
So
Now, sir, as you say, when you claim 54 deduction, 54 is allowable when you acquire new property, correct? In your own property. When you say you acquire new property, are you deducting tax under 194 IA? When you,
If it is above 50 lakhs, then it is a P2.
but who in redevelopment,
Who will do it?
who is deducting TDS under 194 IA for new flat?
That is a notional value.
Notionally, you are claiming that as a reinvestment, you are showing that I have reinvested.
There is transfer of money from the account. At time only you have to deduct.
Yes, right. So if any sum is paid, actual paid, then only 194 IA will come into picture. Then it is clearly mentioned sum. That is what I was trying to indicate. Yeah, because 194 IA will come only when sum is paid.
Right.
So these are small things we need to consider. Now, this we already discussed 247. One only thing is that this SSI still Supreme Court judgment, that they have referred to one more judgment of Supreme Court in the case of Balbir Singh. They clearly mention, now let us read the suppose 6. Any transaction, whether by way of becoming a member or acquiring shares in a cooperative society, company or other association of person, or by way of any agreement or any arrangement or in any other manner whatsoever, it's very wide term, which has the effect of transferring or enabling the enjoyment of any immovable property. Now, apparently it seems it will be covered, but Supreme Court has said in the SSI the meaning of the word enabling the enjoyment, you take it as you are giving that person or you are enabling them enjoying that property as a owner of that property. Whereas what have you done? So that you will cover under this clause, whereby you can say that you have given or transferred or enabled a third person to enjoy that immovable property. And this particular clause is mainly for whenever there is a transfer of flat or premise in the cooperative society. So this issue also can come up. I think this we already discussed. Recently, this judgment one issue has come up before Bombay Tribunal. It was of course again with respect to taxation of transit compensation as well as hardship compensation. Under section 56(2)10 department wanted to levy tax on that amount has been received without any consideration. And if it is received any amount without consideration, it will be tax under section 56(2)10. Tribunal said no, that amount has been received but not without consideration. It is received under development agreement, and as per the terms and conditions of the development agreement, that amount cannot be considered to have been received without consideration. It is a case of Anil Dattaram, Pikle, Mumbai Tribunal. But Tribunal went one step further, and though it was not argued, then also Tribunal said at the most it can be considered to be a extinguishment of rights in the existing flat, and assessee can be claimed to have invested in new flat, and section 54 reduction to have claim, and there would not have been any capital gain. But this we can also take as support of whatever Chandu Bhai has given argument.
Sir, if I treat it as a capital receipts, do I need to disclose in the return of income what are the RCP allowance I am getting?
Now, that I have taken last slide on that also. This demolition, see, now one more thing you were discussing, demolition, whether demolition can be considered a transfer. Very old case of Vania Silk Mill, Supreme Court, where of course plant and machinery were destroyed in a fire. So whether destruction can be considered as a transfer, the Supreme Court said no, destruction cannot be considered as transfer. But simultaneously thereafter, in the case of Grace Police, Supreme Court said in the case of amalgamation, when the person has received shares of amalgamated company in your amalgamating company, Supreme Court there has held that no, you have extinguished your old shares and you got right in new shares, so that is considered as a transfer. Same thing again has come up before Madras High Court, where it has discussed both the cases. So in the Grace Police, they said that Grace Police has not decided that Vania Silk Mill is not correct. And then Madras High Court said in case of destruction that cannot be considered as a transfer. Even but Mumbai High Court in the case of Chaya Park, it was a little different facts where Chaya Park with her brother-in-law sold some commercial premises, then they acquired some plot of land and along with the building, residential building, and claimed deduction under section 54F. And within 1 year or 1.5 years, they demolished that bungalow and reconstructed the bungalow over there. And plus, additional 1 or 2 more floors. Then department came to know, they said, then you have violated the condition of section 54F. You should not have transferred this flat with this new residential property acquired within a certain period. So, whatever claim you have been allowed under section 54F, it should be again taxed in the year of demolition. Then Mumbai High Court in this same case. And in the case of her brother-in-law, tribunal decided against him. But in the case of Chaya Park, she went up to Mumbai High Court, and Mumbai High Court said, if it is demolished for reconstruction of the residential property, it cannot be considered as a transfer for the purpose of violation of section 54F. Then again, brother-in-law also went up to the tribunal, and he also got relief. And it was considered that it is not to be considered as a transfer. So, whether still we can consider this demolition of the building as a transfer or not. Both of the arguments are there, favorable, against also.
In your opinion, if I am getting commercial unit instead of residential unit, or I am getting a commercial unit in front of a commercial unit. Suppose I have a flat and you are going for a self-redevelopment. Instead of a flat, I am getting a commercial unit.
That's why I am saying that then take a step, there is no transfer. So it's like that, again, garage we are putting on, it's like that. Okay, so this 50D I am coding. 54 we have already discussed. These are judgments, very few judgments I have quoted right now, but plethora of judgment which allows 54. But as I said, 54 where the member himself has offered. Department has never said where member has not offered. No, there is a transfer. You are liable to offer that as a capital gain, and then you claim 54. Except in the case of this PPA, under the term PPA. Now, this transit rate compensation and hardship, though it is held to be a capital receipt. My question is whether amount which you receive under contractual agreement can it be considered as a capital receipt? When there is a redevelopment, you know you are going to face this hardship. You agree to it. Yes, I will be shifting to new places. Yes, I will be doing this. I will be paying rent. You pay me whatever amount of rent that is fixed. I will look for my own accommodation. You agree, or you are under an obligation, under an agreement to do all these things. Can still it be considered as a hardship and capital receipt? It's a contractual. I'll just give you an example. Suppose we are sitting on a well corner and somebody is drowning. Father is crying. I jump down. I go and save the child and bring up. And then father gave me some money. I have undergone the hardship already. And for that I got some compensation. That I can definitely claim it as a capital receipt. But here something which I am getting under the contractual agreement where I am supposed to do something which I have done. How can I call it as a hardship? Tomorrow I will give example. I got some audit at Belapur or somewhere else. And I was entering into agreement with my client that instead of charging 1 lakh as a audit fee, I will charge 75,000 as a hardship, 25,000 as a audit fee, because I am facing hardship of traveling daily from here to Belapur. Okay. Will it be entertained?
Can I answer your question?
Yeah.
So, we're doing this lovely development in Borivali. So, there was in Chupoli. So, there was this lady, Chinamma. Okay, so she was supposed to get a new flat in that slum redevelopment. So, generally, what is the practice? As soon as we demolish the house, okay, we immediately dismantle it. And we give the tenant rent everything. She was sitting there outside the house for 4 days. She was sitting outside the house for 4 days because the house was demolished. So if that is not a hardship, then what?
Sentiment, emotions.
So the hardship is that a person's house is breaking is in the nature of hardship.
No, but under agreement, see that in that case it was demolished by someone else.
That's a very determined quantified RDC. You can say when it is in your agreement, it is predetermined quantified RC value. It's a RC, but it's a predetermined.
I'm willing to take that price for my house.
No, then, see, now it has, then, let us say 7,000 rupees per square feet. Hardship compensation. You can go up to 50,000 then per square feet if somebody is rich. Will it be considered as a capital which is full amount?
So why not? So why not? If you are selling flat at 2,63,000 rupees, by 7,000 you are not considering it hardship. Just because you think 7,000 is high, it does not mean it is different. Hardship does not have any percent of human life.
So sorry to be going a little bit off tangent, but sir, 1 minute, sir. Sir, when we're talking about, right now we're talking about redevelopment. But for the same point, if we're talking about a landlord giving a hardship allowance to a tenant to remove him from the property. So that, there are case laws which say that hardship allowance is what is they mentioned in the agreement of buying over the lease rights, I mean the usage rights of tenancy by the landlord from the tenant. That is not taxable in the hands of landlord. So in the hands of the tenant. Pagadi system. So can't we just extrapolate this to the redevelopment issues also?
You need to see if tenant is being vacated and landlord is paying something to him. Is it a tax free thing?
They call it hardship allowance. That's the nomenclature that they use.
That's what, just because they got this nomenclature of hardship, it cannot be used everywhere. See, actually the hardship, let me tell you where from it has come. Originally, if you see the Wadala and Matunga side, ground plus 2-3 stories building, they used to have extra pillars, they used to construct flat above the building And so genuinely the existing tenants were undergoing the hardship and they were being compensated. From there, this hardship work has gone and now it has been extrapolated, as you said, to any extent. So someday, of course, the department has not come out with any strong argument against this being a capital receipt, but something it may come.
But don't be late here.
There is nobody from the department here.
Yeah. So this Sarkar's furniture was someone who was referring to in this break also. Of course, it was a judgment where developer did not deduct TDS on a transit rent compensation. It was held that transit rent compensation is not a rent within the meaning of section 194I, because 194I has defined rent very specifically. Right? And 2-3 lines, Mumbai Court has stated that hardship, this compensation is not taxable, and that's why even tax is not required to be deducted. I am unable to understand that particular line given by the Mumbai High Court. What does whether it is taxable or not taxable? Deduction of requirement of deduction of tax doesn't arise whether it is taxable or not taxable. But then High Court has said these 2-3 lines, and if you read that judgment clearly.
Compensation is not covered under any section. Rent is covered. Compensation is not covered.
Yeah, I agree. That is the reason. But Mumbai Court said because it is not taxable, it is not required to be deducted.
The paisa diya hoga just.
Okay.
Sir, one second. Sir, yesterday I got a live case. Sir, receipt of money from the court receiver by a person. The advocate has given him, you want your money, you give a declaration CS certificate saying that this is the taxable income and you will pay tax and give the tax challan. Then only I give to court receiver, you will get your check. Now I asked him, how do you know that this is correct? It's a taxable, it's a inheritance is not a taxable receipt.
Sorry.
Sorry sir, I am interjecting, but
So now let's now after completing this entire process of self-development, society is left with some handsome money, and naturally the existing member would love to use it, and they would not like the incoming member to use it. Now, how can society distribute it? Shilpa ma'am said, but see, as such, society cannot declare dividend more than 15%. That's what the Cooperative Society Act. And society's capital is hardly 2 lakh to 3 lakh rupees maximum. So, member will never be able to pay it. So, how can they distribute? I could not find any answer to this. Nor even, I think, registrar has got power to allow them to distribute. Sometimes some society distributes it without the knowledge of anyone. That is a different thing. But whether then it will become taxable in the hands of the member. See, if member would have contributed on their own, and if there is something surplus is remaining, and if they would have taken, still we can say it is their own money. Here the money has come from the incoming members. Assuming we are not taking the benefit of that partners for society's case and all these things, then how, early into tax, society has already paid tax on the safer side. So self-development is not that easy.
it's not easy. So lots of unanswered questions there.
Yeah. So these are all issues which I have to think of and dream of. Now, last we can take that society has made a transit and how to declare in return. There is no specific sale or anything available in the return where you can declare. And more particularly so in case of redevelopment where the builder has deducted TDS. Naturally it will then come by the 26AS or AIS, and definitely if you are not offered anywhere in the return, you will definitely get it where this corresponding TDS is there, you are not offered income, and naturally for TDS also. So I could not find any place other than one, that section 10 exemption. In that various drop down, there is one other exemption. There they don't ask specific section under which it is exempted. So there you can declare that and claim exempt and then claim as a TDS credit. That is the only way. And
what people do, normally do, they will not say to fill the IPR form, but will show the EFOS. Show the exempt also, but show the EFOS. When you claim any TDS, they ask under which section you are claiming this TDS, whether business, salary or EFOS. Right there they are claiming the EFOS, it showed in the EFOS, so that query doesn't come that you have not shown the income, you have not claimed the TDS. And also TDS exempt. In your EFOS, there is a column where any expenses were claimed. People are writing in that section. So every career, less the career, TDS is recovered. This is how to manage the IPR form.
Section 50C, income, you can claim deduction only under section 57. And 57 clearly says any expenditure incurring relation to earning income which is offered under income from other sources. So it will be difficult. And rather, as far as transit rent, some people are claiming that expenditure of whatever actual rent they are paying. There are one or two judgments which is favoring to the assessee, but there are views that whether the rent which you are paying can be considered to have been incurred for earning that transit rent compensation, if at all it is taxable as a income from other
The
sources.
department always thinks the contrary.
No, some judgments are there in favor. It is not a deduction. Assuming you have got 15,000 rent and you pay 10,000, they charge 5,000 only, they tax only on 5,000.
Sir, for builder, it is any which way going to be expense. For builder, they are going to claim it as expense.
Correct.
So some or other way, the person who is receiving, he has to claim it as income. Then the analogy is
No, I don't agree with that. Just because it is your expenditure, it becomes mine.
from the
It's not
business
business.
perspective.
No.
But what I agree with Pratik, instead of giving 30% in sales, sorry, in redevelopment, normally agreement is 25 to 30%. Now when we 8 टका दूंगा और आपको 1 करोड़ का रेंट दूंगा, whether it will become tax free for somebody, expense for somebody? If that is the case, I will tell that in this redevelopment, the rent will be 1 crore rupees. And your percentage will be 1% only.
What I was talking about, transit rent, RC, any amount, any undisturbed work. How far it will go?
So if I get a hardship allowance of 90,000, but I am buying renting another house of say 1,20,000. So about the 30,000 extra that I am paying, how do I claim it?
So that is what I am asking you, that rent whatever you are paying, that you may not claim as a deduction under
Exactly.
57. That rent you will not incur to earn that compensation. So I think these are the various thoughts.
Just 1 minute, can I claim under the HRA that suppose I use that
No, HRA only is salary.
what I'm trying to say is
Yes.
90.
Yeah, you are shifted to adult accommodation, you are paying some rent. Then you can claim.
Because that my house is not now available to me.
Yes.
That is possible.
Yeah, that's it.
Sir, but do I need to
If you please start, because we have the hall.
You have to close the,
Tomorrow morning, we will have the session, we will leave the hall. What is the problem?
in which year do I need to disclose my return of income tax against flat? Which year?
that is also a big question. But normally, yes, in the year in which you give purchases for demolition and you enter into P3.8 in case of redevelopment, you should offer it better.
But sir, if I don't disclose it, does it amount to any contraction? But I don't disclose one.
As long as nobody is disclosing.
One aspect is there around date of possession.
So we will take the question after. Take the question after this, both of us, please.
Date of agreement. It is to be considered date of agreement. When you disclose in date of possession.
Sir, the only problem is that if you continue, members will ask for hardship, bigger allowance. That is not possible.
for having discussion.
Thank you, Sharad, for such a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for such a wonderful session. We request the past commitment, request for the Professor Kantilal for time and seven minutes.
Thank you very much, members, and our own advisory member and core member of Sharad was our speaker today. Really, he has given insight on this topic. With a loud round of applause, I would request all the members. Thank you, Sharad, for giving the relevant time for the presentation. In this presentation, you will get online on our website. You can just log in and you will take the website. And tomorrow morning, we have a health session. 7 to 8 is something like yoga at the same place. And 8 to 9 is a session. And after that, there is seminar 9:30 to 1:30. Everyone are requested to come with your family. And there is no hardship allowance tomorrow.